why are pineapples so sexualized of all the fruit?
I
It's
don't
also a very funny safe word like you see in movies and TV shows.
Yes.
It's what's your safe word? Pineapple.
It's so random.
Yeah, I don't know what pineapples have to do.
I don't know what it is with
I know.
pineapples. What's up, everybody? It's Kate.
And it's JJ.
And this is season 14, where we are going rogue. Are you ready?
I'm super ready.
Are you ready for it? Doom, doom, doom. That's Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you missed me with that one. I would not have gotten that in 1,000 years.
Shut your mouth. You have definitely listened to Taylor Swift.
No, hey, that's for liberal Christians, the ones who believe in nuance and
Don't be what's his face? All
Nathan Pinocchio. Yeah.
Don't go Nathan Pinocchio on me. Well, guys, we are so excited for this season. It's going to be a different season for the next few months as we talk about more in the moment things. What's going on in pop culture? How does that relate to dating? What are we hearing in dating, like in the people dating around us? And we are still going to be sharing some things and teaching some things, but it's going to be a little less formal. Like, here are the 3 ways to handle a breakup, and more like, hey, did you hear about pineapples in Spain and how it's changing the dating game? Should we do something like that here? Which we're going to talk about today. So are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about these pineapples. I've heard you talk about it, but I'm super curious about pineapples in Spain. We had a pretty crazy weekend. I think it's going to be fun to talk about surviving a hurricane.
Yeah.
But before we jump in, Kate, what do I need to know about my announcements, the agenda, what's coming up?
Yeah, we do have some fun things. So originally this week, we were going to launch HODC 2025 HODC Dallas tickets, which if you didn't know, HODC is in D-Town in February 14th and 15th. But because we had to cancel Camp HOD, which we're about to get into why that happened, we're going to just take another week and probably launch HODC next week. So really excited though about HODC Dallas. I mean, after everything that just happened with camp, like I just feel very excited that at least we have HODC Dallas to look forward to. Don't think any hurricanes are going to be affecting Dallas anytime soon. But are you excited about HODC Dallas?
I mean, be careful what you say. We
oh
were
my gosh, I know.
5 hours inland in the mountains of North Carolina, and it was bad. But yeah, I'm super excited. We just went through the run of show. It's going to be a build your own conference, which I love because when I go to conferences, I actually spend 50% of the time in the hallway meeting people.
Yeah, or like, you don't necessarily want to consume all that content. Like for me, maybe I want to consume it all because I'm a learner and grower. But then for you, maybe you're like, oh, well, I also want to learn some content, but also want to hang out with people or do something fun.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where it's like content overload and people are looking for connection. And so when I go to a conference, there's a good chance whatever keynote I'm listening to, I could have found that on YouTube, maybe from that same speaker.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why with this conference, it's going to be fun because you're going to get to choose what you want to do. There's going to be some things we do all together. And then for about the other half of the conference, you're going to choose like what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing is on October 19th, we're doing an in-person hangout, which is very redeeming since we didn't get to do Camp HOD. And the only catch is that it's for our Patreon members only. But so if you're a Patreon person that's listening to this and you support this podcast, we would love to have you if you're able to make it in person in Nashville. It's going to be the afternoon of the 19th at Arrington Vineyards, which is a really beautiful spot, especially for fall. Okay. And we're going to have charcuterie, live music, fall snacks. And if you're not in Patreon, want to support us and come hang out with me, JJ, and Eleanor, all you have to do is sign up for the $5 level or above at patreon.com/Heart of Dating. It's so much fun.
Will Lovey be there?
I don't know if dogs are allowed at the vineyard.
I think they are.
To be determined.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into the episode. Today, we're talking about how we survived a hurricane. And then we're going to talk about how pineapples are changing the dating game in Spain. And who else knows what's going to come up. So, JJ, why don't we talk about the hurricane?
Okay. Yeah, it was crazy. Do you want to set the stage like from the beginning of the week?
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, we were supposed to have Camp HOD last weekend. We've been planning this for months and months and months in Asheville at Ridgecrest Conference Center, the 27th through 29th, starting that Friday through Sunday. We were all excited, ready to go. Everything had been planned. And it was just, we were all so expectant for what God was going to do. And so as a team, we arrived last Tuesday before the hurricane hit, which if y'all don't know, the Hurricane Helene hit on Friday. So we arrived on Tuesday with our team. Of course, we heard rumblings about a hurricane coming. We saw things in the news. We're not just like completely obtuse to what was happening, but we chose to monitor it both through the media, but also locally with people around us. And so we started receiving some concerning emails from attendees, and the more we were hearing about it, the more we were getting a bit concerned. So then we continued to talk to Ridgecrest, the conference center, and be like, how do you guys feel about this? Do you feel like this is going to be okay? Do you feel like the event is going to continue on? Are you wanting to cancel? Like, what are you wanting to do? And from every conversation with our venue, Ridgecrest, they really did assure us that it was going to be okay. And they weren't that worried about the storm. And to be honest, like locally, that was kind of the consensus, wouldn't you say? Like locally throughout Asheville and the mountain towns?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's over 100 people dead, and there's over 600 people still missing. There's 600 people still missing.
Yeah.
I think if the authorities knew how bad it was going to be, there would have been an evacuation.
Right.
Obviously, in hindsight, with that many people missing and dead, it was catastrophic.
It was.
With that many people missing and dead, obviously you look backwards and say, why was this not evacuated?
Yeah.
Why was everything in this region should have been closed down, and there should have been not a single person left in the mountains. So obviously, yeah, it caught everyone off guard. Everyone in the mountains, and think about it, you're like hundreds of miles inland, you're 6 hours from the coast. Yeah, your last thought in being in the mountains of North Carolina is, this hurricane is going to affect. I mean, think about wherever you're at right now.
Yeah.
Think about 6 hours south of you. If there was a hurricane or a storm, you would never think it's going to affect you.
Right. And, for me, I don't know if you've been through any hurricanes, but I have been through a few. Actually, we've been through the California hurricane. We'll talk about that. But, when I was actually living in New York City when Hurricane Sandy hit, and that is one of the top 5 hurricanes in, our U.S. history that caused devastation. And that was a really hard time in New York City living there and during that hurricane. But I will say, like, at least in Manhattan, the after effect of what I experienced living there compared to the after effect of what I saw in Asheville was so different. Like, Asheville was really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Sandy wasn't bad, but the subway was up and not too much time after the hurricane came. At first, all the subways were completely flooded. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't come in and out of the city. But it wasn't that much time that, we got power. The subways were running again. And so, and this was a long time ago, so maybe I don't remember everything, but we were not evacuated in Manhattan. We knew the hurricane on the coast was going to hit Manhattan, and we were not evacuated. So in my mind as well, going into something like what was happening in Asheville, I'm like, okay, this is hitting, but it's so far away from, like, the hurricane is hitting the coast of Florida, so far away from North Carolina. And we didn't evacuate for Sandy in New York City when that hurricane came, and we were on the coast. So, I can understand why a lot of people locally in Asheville didn't evacuate. I totally can understand. And that's also going on in my mind as we're like seeing all the news and talking to locals. I'm like, from being on the coastline with Hurricane Sandy and being in the storm, we weren't even evacuated. So why would we evacuate Asheville?
Yeah, well, I was reading about this, and it's actually been a problem since Katrina, after Katrina, and how devastating that was. People were much more prone to evacuate and leave areas. But after that, and what happens is there's kind of like these false positives, or people hype up hurricanes, and then they come, and they're really not as significant or damaging as what people thought. And then here we are 20 years later. This was supposed to be bad. Yeah. There was supposed to be historic flooding. It was just that kind of Everyone locally, from officials to people at Ridgecrest, everyone literally just thought it was going to be wind and rainstorms, and then we'll wait it out and then it'll be okay.
I mean, yeah, like to that point, last year we were living in California when Hurricane Hillary hit. And you guys, that was a Category 4 hurricane, which Helene was also a Category 4 hurricane. So same categories of hurricanes. We were living there in California when this hurricane hit, and people were afraid. We weren't evacuated. We were right by the coast, not evacuated. And to be honest, in our area, barely anything happened. In our area. I'm not saying it didn't cause issues, especially in parts of the mountains in California on the coast, but we barely had any impact of that.
But it was the same thing with mountains, right? You just don't really think about mountains and hurricanes being a really bad combination. But at this point, the reason why North Carolina was so bad was they had over 17 inches of rain in 3 days.
Yeah.
Not only did they have the hurricane hit, but they had like a day and a half of rain beforehand and then the hurricane on top of that. So you talk about a storm surge. Actually, what was the most devastating was there was dams that were breaking all throughout North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that was actually the most devastating of all the rain and the flooding. Was you think about a dam letting out that massive amount of water at one time. That was the most insane part. And I just found out that hydroelectricity and that energy source has killed more than all energy sources combined in the US, or actually the world. Think about like nuclear, think about like solar, think about everything as far as energy that we have, even like exhaust and CO2 being released. Hydro has actually killed more because it's so devastating when it goes wrong. Because two things happen. One, think about Lord of the Rings, the two towers where they release the dam. That's a really good image of just how powerful that flooding can be, because you just have tons and tons and tons of water. And then two, you think about the power being knocked out. Like these regions are completely dependent on hydroelectricity for their energy. You're in the mountains.
Yeah.
And so it's a double whammy. One, it's extremely destructive. And then two, you go without power. And they're not expected to have power and water in some of these areas for 30 days. Like they have another 3.5 weeks ahead of them.
With no power, I know. And so it's so bad. I mean, so we arrived at the venue we were in Biltmore Village on Thursday having lunch, which you guys have probably, if you've seen any media around this in Asheville, have definitely seen, even if you didn't know it, videos of Biltmore Village, because just 24 hours after we were having lunch there, it's completely underwater. I mean, there was a Wendy's. You can see the Wendy's. I mean,
we literally parked at this Wendy's parking lot.
Yeah.
And had dinner, and the Wendy's was
lunch. It was lunch. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the hotel that we were at, 3 floors of it was completely underwater.
Yeah, just the next day. And so Thursday night we were at the venue, and, we were expressing concerns about the hurricane, and we were listening to some of the concerned campers as well. And they really felt like it was going to be okay. And even if they lost power for a short amount of time, they were like, we have generators, we have a plan, it's going to be fine. Basically, the show is going to go on. We're going to be open. No, we don't know quite how bad it's going to be, but we don't think it's going to be that bad. And so we were like, okay, they're making us feel pretty good about this. And so, in hindsight, I feel really, really horrible, because I did share some stories and, encouraging people hey, it's not that bad. And granted, the hurricane hadn't really hit yet. So of course it wasn't that bad.
Well, even in the middle of the hurricane, I was doing an Instagram story and being funny with a banana mocking a weatherman, in the middle of the storm.
Because we still didn't think it was going to be that bad.
Because nobody knew. No one knew until the power went out. And then the self-service went out.
Yeah.
And you just think about that experience. Think about where you are right now in your house or wherever you are. If the power goes out and your self-service goes out, think about, you're just cut off.
Yeah.
You're completely cut off.
And so we didn't know quite how bad it was in the area. So Friday, the storm hits, we wake up, and the venue at first is we're going to see if we can, what we're going to do, because their power went out. Right. And so they're like, they still hadn't canceled it. And we're like, okay. And so then a few hours later, they're like, okay, we do have to cancel it. We don't know when our power is going to come back online. We thought it would come back soon, but it doesn't look like it's going to come back soon. Now, knowing the information we do, they may not get power for 30 days.
They still don't have power.
And so it just was, again, way more devastating, even to the fact of Friday morning when they're in contact with some of their team, they're still thinking that they might get power back soon. And that, of course, it didn't happen, is not going to happen.
Yeah, because you think about that experience, you're stuck, you're isolated, there's no information being shared. And literally a mile away, towns are being devastated. Like we were outside Black Mountain, that was 1 mile away. That was one of the worst hit areas. There is houses being swept, like dams are breaking, and yet you're just sitting there, and you don't realize how bad it is.
We were the only things we were getting through was those emergency warning things. Like, dam broke, evacuate now, and that was like right by us, and we're like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you're like, is this like right up the hill from us? Like, is there about to be a surge of water?
Like coming
like
through,
storming through, like you just don't know.
It was terrifying, and you just kept hearing those sounds of those emergency things going off. I mean, right by us was a giant mudslide. The highway was completely washed out. And then, around Friday noon, everything stopped. But the damage didn't stop, but like the storm stopped. And so at that point, we had 7 HOD people that made it to Ridgecrest. Most of them had arrived the previous night. 2 people arrived that morning before the highway washed out and all the extra flooding. They made it. And so we just kind of spent the day together. None of us had any real knowledge of what was going on. The storm had calmed down, so that made us less anxious, but, we still didn't really know what was going on, when we're going to be able to leave, like any of that information. So, we just hunkered down together. We played multiple games of Secret Hitler and tried to make the best of it because we were completely disconnected from what was going on.
Yeah.
And trying to calm all of our anxieties as well, because as you can imagine, like, it's pretty anxiety inducing when you're completely cut off. You don't know exactly how bad things are, but you keep getting emergency alerts on your phone that things are happening all around you.
Yeah, there's just so much uncertainty. And then as the information started coming in Friday afternoon, we literally had a camper show up on the doorstep of the camp, covered in mud, with nothing in his hands. Shout out to Jacob Owens. Mm-hmm. And he just said, I had trees fall down all outside of where I was staying. There was no way off the mountain. I had no supplies. I literally had to hike down 2.5 miles through trees and creeks and rivers. And at the bottom of the hill, someone picked me up and dropped me off at Ridgecrest.
Which is
and
crazy
I have nothing.
A pathway for him. Like, he left his car and all of his stuff.
All of his belongings had nothing.
Yeah. So Friday afternoon, most of us still didn't have service. There was maybe some spotty service. Some people had service on their phone. But we did actually go out Friday afternoon with our car because we were like, okay, let's just see if there's, like, us being naively, we're like, let's go get some food because, the venue didn't have any, like, all of their food was completely destroyed. Their generators end up, there's only enough power for one floor of one building out of their multiple buildings, and their dining hall, like, didn't have any power. So all that food went bad. So we're mainly eating snacks. And we're like, let's see if there's a grocery store open. So silly in retrospect now because, like, there's no power for maybe 30 days there.
I mean, guys, this was so surreal. Yeah. Talk about driving out of the venue. And this is where we started to realize how bad it was.
Yes, because
prior to that, no communication. Mm-hmm. Like, we heard it's bad, but we hadn't seen it. Mm-hmm. As soon as we got out of the entrance, which we could finally get out of the campus, we were like just like, is this bad? As soon as we got out, tell them what we saw.
I mean, it felt like the apocalypse there. The highway was closed right there because right past our venue, literally right past the venue, there was like complete mudslides wiping out the highway. And so all you see is cars like everywhere, parked all different random places, abandoned. Like, people had abandoned their cars. It felt like an apocalypse where people were just parked and then, like, out of their vehicles.
Hundreds of cars.
Yeah.
Hundreds of cars. People walking around everywhere in camping gear because they all came down from the mountains. They got out of the cars. Like, people walked for miles and miles and miles.
And then we started driving further and we start seeing, like, restaurants wiped out, like, basically rivers of mud and water where there is no river before, that just is now a river of that destroyed things.
I mean, restaurants and houses with like water just still flooding out of them.
Yeah.
And
It
like
was
families
so
just
bad.
literally families just standing outside of their house.
Yeah.
Restaurant owners, like 10 people, just like furniture had been taken out, and we could smell the natural gas from some of these buildings as we passed by because the pipes burst, and it filled literally from the road. You could smell the natural gas as you drove by some of these places. I mean, people walking around like barefoot. There was old women just sitting on their porch and in their front yards, just looking around. And there's just nothing they could do.
I mean,
there's nothing anybody could
so
do.
Sad. Meanwhile, like, we knew that some HODers were in town already. We didn't know how many. We didn't know how to reach them because we have no service. And, after the fact, we've gotten in contact with pretty much everyone that we knew was in Nashville and like tried to figure out ways for them to get out if they didn't already get out. But we go to bed on Friday night. Oh, also, I should say Friday afternoon, the venue was like, hey, at first the venue was like, stay here as long as you want. And then they were like, actually, you guys, like, you have to leave tomorrow morning. Basically, they didn't have any food for the people that were there. And so they were like, you guys have to figure out and leave. And
well, because we lost about $20,000 worth of food. Like we bought food for all the campers through the venue.
Yeah.
And it all went bad. And there was supposed to be 1,000 campers that weekend.
Yes.
There was probably $100,000 worth of food and supplies.
Oh, yeah.
That just went bad because the generators went down.
I don't even know how they fed us with the food that they did.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, we had snacks and things.
They had one generator.
One.
For about 25 buildings.
Yeah.
All the other generators went down.
Yeah.
So we had like one floor of power of all these buildings.
Yeah, we were in pitch black. Talk about zombie apocalypse, okay? Because we were on like the 3rd floor of this building and it was pitch black in the hallways. So terrifying. And then you go in the stairwell.
Yeah.
Where I've never seen
there was
so creepy.
No windows in the hallways, no windows. It was like, think about a zombie apocalypse movie where they're going through a completely dark hospital, school, pitch
so scary.
Black.
So scary.
It was pretty terrifying going through that.
With the baby in our arms, like having like our phone flashlight on. So they tell us we have to leave. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
there's probably like 30 people stuck at Ridgecrest, ourselves included.
Yeah.
And they're trying to like scrounge up food for all of us. And they basically tell us on Friday, hey, we only have enough food to last until tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. After that, like, you guys got to find a way out of here. Like, you can stay. We just don't have food for everyone.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty alarming because like, all right, well, we have no idea how the roads are. Yeah. Literally what we saw today, it's going to be impossible. There's thousands of cars just parked. Like, obviously no one's getting out.
Was what we saw that day. And we're like, this does not seem good.
Yeah.
So, eventually some people got some information because some people had a little bit of service. So through any information of any people that were at the venue, we started to piece together maybe a possible route to get out of Asheville.
Well, there was like a survivalist there who had he was kitted to like the teeth.
Yeah.
And he left Friday night to go try and get out and realized he couldn't make it. So he came back and he was like a very important source of information.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to puzzle together, like, can we even make it out? Because what Kate and I realized when we took our car out on Friday is we didn't have any gas. We had about 2 or 3 gallons of gas in the car, which in our big SUV was like 60, 70 miles of gas.
Which is
and
not
here's
good
the problem.
Because we didn't know if there was power anywhere in the vicinity of us being able to get gas.
And the problem with that is there was no power, so there's no gas stations.
Yeah.
So everyone, like, imagine if you're driving, there's no gas for 100 miles. Like, everyone, unless you have a full tank of gas, there was no getting out of there. So,
and thankfully, a lot of the people that were there and our team did have pretty full tanks of gas. It was just really us that didn't. And that was very scary because we're like, even if we find a route out, are we even going to be able to get gas? Or we're going to be those people with a baby at the side of the road. And,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we had no service at all. There was no service Saturday morning, nothing. And so when we eventually did leave, we figured out a plan for all the HODers that were on site. We had 7 people with us on top of our team. And we all kind of figured out our own plans, but like, that was really important to us. And so, we make the trek. We're like, what are we going to find?
Well,
when
we leave because we're like, we couldn't get gas from the venue because they needed it for the generators. Like they wouldn't give it. I was about to get a hose so that we can just siphon gas. Literally was ready to siphon gas out of our friends, full tanks.
Yeah.
Because we basically, from what we looked up, was we had 70 miles of gas. We had to get to about 100 miles out. Yeah. That was the closest power that
how in the world are we going to do that?
So literally what we did is we left as a caravan. We had about 5 or 6 cars. We're all headed to Atlanta. That was the only way out of Asheville. And Asheville's pretty high up in the mountains. So what we did is put the car in neutral.
Down
every single time we got on a downhill slope.
JJ was the champ, babe.
And literally prayed because we had to get to 100 miles out and we had about 70 miles of gas. And you just don't know if you're going to make it. And if you're separated from your group, if anything goes wrong, you just have you're stuck.
We had no ability. There was zero service. So there was no ability for us to contact one of the other cars either. Like if we lost the group, there'd be no way for us to contact them, which is also very scary.
So we start going, and like every time we hit traffic, like in Nashville going out, anytime we hit an uphill slope, it's like, you're like, this is not good. Like this is like costing us super valuable gas.
Anxiety.
So we pass. We are getting lower and lower and lower. An hour and a half passes. We're down to about 15 miles of gas. And you can track your gas, like your miles per gallon. And we went from averaging 15 to like 25 to 35 because of how we were able to drive down the mountains, which was such a blessing. And
it was also a miracle we were able to get out on the roads that we did because so many roads were closed.
And again, you're passing... I'm not joking. You're passing thousands of cars of people just stuck.
Yeah, stranded on the side of the road. And you're seeing flooding off the highway of like complete towns decimated. Like
you're literally seeing even rivers just like I put some pictures on my story. Rivers as you pass through that are where a town was. There's a river, and you just see the tops of buildings. It was so insane to see with their own eyes. And then all these people, like we could easily be joining them any second as our car goes down the mountain. And finally we get out at about 90 miles. There's 1 or 2 gas stations we see for the first time with power. And the lines are just like half a mile long. I could see them from the interstate. And I'm just like, at this point, we have a little bit more gas left. I don't think we could even wait in line for 2 hours or an hour and go to these gas stations because these were the first ones with available gas. And there was huge lines.
I mean, it was,
So Kate and I looked at each other. We decided to keep going and risk it, which, you just don't know if it was the right decision or not.
It ended up being the right decision.
Yeah. And finally we get to like these little towns that have power. Like the only way we knew they had power because we still didn't have cell phone services. Like you pass by like a car dealership or some kind of random place.
There was like light on.
There was like an LED sign, you're like, oh, they have power here. Like you can see a LED light on. You can see a stoplight on from the road. It's like, oh, they have power. So we finally get to the gas station. It's cash only. All of them are cash only. We borrowed some money from
some cash and
we borrowed money from strangers. Literally people in the South were so nice. And we were able to fill up and get a full tank of gas and get out, which it was just such a miracle.
We share this, though there are people that had it way worse than us. I mean, even HODers, like we had 2 girls that got airlifted out, and that was a miracle because people that are not like professional helicopter driver, not professional, they don't use it for like government, but they have their own helicopters.
Private
helicopters were like taking their helicopters out to help people. And they happened to take like a pregnant woman who is 40 weeks pregnant or 39 weeks right by them and get her out, which is amazing. Then the helicopter man came back and ended up having room to take these 2 HOD girls who didn't think they would be able to get out. So they got out.
They were literally helivaced from the parking lot of like a Walmart where they had to spend the night in their car overnight.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it was. People
Well, that
just got
was
stuck.
a different group of people, but yeah, I mean that happened. Also, we had one of our gals at the airport completely shut down the airport. I mean, there was no food at the airport. All she had was the snacks on her. There was nothing going in and out of the airport. It was absolutely horrible. She had to sleep, on the floor in the airport.
I mean, there was even a hospital that lost power.
Yeah.
Like even their generators. Did you see the photo in East Tennessee? There was 50 people on the roof of a hospital who all had to be evacuated. So
it was wild.
But no one knew. Like it's only now, the past day or two, this is now Monday or Tuesday. It's only now like the national media and people are actually seeing it, because the whole place, like there was just no way to get the word out of how bad it was. Yeah. And all these mountain towns with like one bridge in or one way in have just been all like cut off from civilization. And the only way to get to them is helicopters.
So it's devastating for so many reasons for the people there. And I have to say it's also devastating for us. I mean, we not in the same way, but it still is devastating because we planned so hard for this event.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have this happen, literally the timing and just everything. And even have some HODers that were there, and for them to have to go through this, like, it's just like a burden that I feel. And it's just so much sadness. And, we're just now cleaning up all the logistics of having to cancel a big event. And it's just tough. It's been really hard. Emotionally, this has been a really hard season, like for me, for many reasons. And like that just was the icing on the cake of like, this has been tough.
Yeah, honestly, just to close, I would just say, please, 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 if you feel compelled financially, there's a couple great places in Asheville. Manna Food Bank. These are both registered nonprofits and have done. Samaritan's Purse is actually based in Boone, North Carolina, which got destroyed as well. Yeah. There's Beloved Asheville, and then you can obviously do United Way. I just found out that it's very controversial to donate to the Red Cross for some reason. I haven't looked up that at all. So I just found some local nonprofits who were doing great work previous to the hurricane. I would just say absolutely, like, please pray, please donate whatever you can. I mean, it easily could have been us or anyone. We went through so many different scenarios. Kate and I and our team and Eleanor, we were one decision away from being completely isolated in really bad life-threatening situations. If this hurricane hit a day later, there would have been 1,000 campers.
Do you realize too, we almost stayed in the Airbnb that Thursday night?
Yeah, that's literally what I mean. Like that, the Airbnb we were at the 2 or 3 days right before camp was so isolated and surrounded by rivers. We would have had no power, no food, and been completely stuck with all of us. And
who knows how long?
Oh, seriously, it was surrounded by rivers. I really don't know how anyone in that area is going to get out. So if it hit one day later, there would have been 1,000 campers at Ridgecrest. They had a hard time feeding 30 people for a day and a half. Imagine having 1,000 people there.
Yeah, like it's hard.
It was for us and Heart of Dating and the people we knew and the campers we knew. It was one decision away from being like life-threatening and catastrophic. And for a lot of people, it is life-threatening and catastrophic. And that's where we're just like, that easily could have been us. It easily could have been us. So please donate, please give, please pray. It's so sad to see. It feels weird to talk about anything else. Yeah, like pineapples.
About pineapples and dating.
To like change the mood. I know.
Like, for me, it's like upsetting.
We gotta change the mood.
So I do want to bring up pineapples and dating. So you guys are like, what is this? So in Spain, this is so funny. At the grocery store called Mercadona. Okay, I think I probably am saying that so wrong.
So like Publix or Kroger?
I don't know. It's a specialty grocery store. I don't know who started it, to be honest. Maybe you can find out. But you can go to this supermarket between 7 to 8 p.m., grab a pineapple, turn it upside down in your cart to indicate that you are single, and then you go to the wine aisle. And then if you see someone in that aisle with an upside down pineapple as well, you crash your cart into theirs to signal that you're interested.
What do you guys think about that?
So like, what? But like, I guess, and obviously this can be used in bad ways because, it can be indicating like a one night stand, which is ridiculous. And, that's secular culture for you, right? Also, apparently pineapples are like some sort of symbol for swingers, but I don't think that's necessarily the case in Spain, but that's interesting because I found that out.
Yeah, well, I mean, why are pineapples so sexualized of all the fruit? It's also a very funny safe word like you see in movies and TV shows.
Yes.
It's what's your safe word? Pineapple.
It's so random.
Yeah, I don't know what pineapples have to do.
I don't know what it is with pineapples, but yeah, so I don't know what it is with the pineapples. It's hilarious. But my question for you is, should we do this in America somehow?
Well, my question for you is, how do you think that something like that even starts?
I don't know. We were trying to talk about this in the car. I don't know. Does somebody just say like, hey, this is a fun idea. Let's try it at this one supermarket, put it on TikTok and see if it goes viral?
Let me look it up. Okay, so we just looked it up. We asked ChatGPT, as we do for literally everything on a daily basis now. Nobody knows. It just started on TikTok and blew up from there.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody had to have started it. I don't know, but it is a crazy thing because I'm like, how did they get traction with this where then other people started to do it?
Well, I guess my question for you, because I know you have one for me, is number one, it's what is this saying about people and how we're dating today?
People are done with dating apps and want to meet in real life.
Okay, so you're saying
the first thing.
Are dating apps cooked? Is that?
Yeah, is that a Gen Z phrase?
What?
Cooked?
Yeah, it's very popular.
Got it. So yeah, I think dating apps are a little bit cooked. I mean, I'm a fan of them, but I think that people are just fatigued with them.
Yeah, well, there's some people who have still never done it.
Yeah.
So they're not fatigued. I think for the majority of the people who've used them now it's crazy. Some people have been around and using them for 5-10 years now.
Yeah. And with COVID and the uptick of like in that 2-year time frame where like everyone got online, I think there's just now we're like 2 years after that and there's like a lot of fatigue.
We'll do our next episode on that. Are dating apps cooked? Because
and cyber stalking.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because I think people are just kind of over it and people are looking for different avenues. I think this is cool. I think it's creative. Would you do it if you were single?
I would do it.
You would?
I would maybe do it, but I wish there was a way for it to be Christian. So that's what I'm talking about. Should we do something with like Chick-fil-A or like, something where like you arrive at a Chick-fil-A 7 to 8 p.m. at night, I don't know, you wear a certain kind of hat or a certain color.
You wear spots like a cow.
Sure. And yeah, like a cow, like the moo. And that indicates that you're single and want to meet someone.
Yeah.
I'm saying Chick-fil-A because it's a Christian run company.
I know you gotta have the
other idea is Hobby Lobby. But
I was gonna say that.
What guys are gonna go to Hobby Lobby?
Well, what guys are the grocery store? I guess is like there's some
That's
utility.
neutral.
You got to go to but Hobby Lobby would be funny.
No, that would be ridiculous.
Is Home Depot Christian?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so it'd have to be Hobby Lobby.
All right, so I just asked ChatGPT, what are the retail shops or retail or food chains in America that are Christian run? Okay, Hobby Lobby, no surprise.
Yeah,
I don't think this would be good at Hobby Lobby though.
I don't either because for the guys
are not going to want to go to a craft supply store.
I went to Hobby Lobby and I'm telling you,
for women.
I went to Hobby Lobby one time with Kate and I'm telling you, it was the worst experience of my life.
Okay, that's so dramatic.
No, it was worse than any other place I've ever been. It was. I would rather go to
Disney.
Forever 21, Disney. Yeah, in a heartbeat. I'd rather go to Walgreens.
Let's get that in writing.
Victoria's Secret,
Oh, whoa.
with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, number 2. Not surprised.
That would be a great one.
Lord's Chicken.
Especially if you
do it at Chick-fil-A. That's the one I suggested.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. 3, Forever 21.
Oh, funny. Yeah, that's funny.
I don't
know. I don't think
John
so.
3:16 on the bottom of their shopping bags.
I didn't know that. Did you?
Didn't either. I don't know about Forever 21 though.
No.
That would be kind of weird.
No.
Okay, what about In-N-Out Burger?
That'd be a great one.
The problem with In-N-Out is it's not as big as Chick-fil-A. Like it's not everywhere like Chick-fil-A is. So you couldn't do it as nationally.
Well, it is growing.
But what would you do? I mean, what's the benefit of In-N-Out versus Chick-fil-A?
I think Chick-fil-A is a better indoor. I think In-N-Outs actually have better patios, especially in California.
that's true.
So if the weather's good, my question though is, how would you communicate that you're single?
I think you'd have to wear a specific color.
Or like the In-N-Out hat, like the Steak and Shake old diner
But then everyone
plastic
have to
hat.
buy that hat.
No, they give them out for free.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, like grab one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You would look kind of funny.
I think that would be a good idea.
What would be like a silly one?
Like one of their aprons or something.
Oh, you wear an apron?
But then people are going to take that crazy and like wear only an apron.
Yeah, I like colored.
We're going to have people arrested for public indecency.
What if like you wore flip-flops? And that's how you...
Okay, then you're going to have like dads rolling in flip-flops and
Yeah.
single girls being like, ooh, you know.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Tyson Foods, what's that?
That's chicken.
It's
But I don't think they have
It's not a chain. It's a food processing company. Okay.
Yeah.
Allegro Coffee Company. It's part of Whole Foods Market.
I didn't know that.
So
That
we
would
could
be a
do
good
it at
one.
Whole Foods.
Actually, I think Whole Foods would be really good.
Yeah. Well, there's less of them, but it is, I think, pretty much most places in America.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Think about Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Is it in Sioux Falls? Probably not.
Maybe. What are you trying to say about Sioux Falls?
I'm sorry, but like just thinking about smaller places that we've been that like people don't maybe prioritize health food quite as much. Yeah, like there is a Whole Foods in Franklin, but like there's only like a few Whole Foods in Nashville. That might be good though.
Think about a non-Christian one. Where would you say would be a really funny place to do it?
I don't know. Why don't you go?
Okay. I think this sounds funny and it's definitely biased, but I think it would be really good. The driving range. I'm telling you, you find a cool way to signal, I'm at this range and I'm single. I would love to make friends.
You know, it would be good because guys want to go there.
Guys are already there. Guys would love to go there.
And the problem that all women are saying are there's no good guys.
Yeah.
Is it free to go to a driving range?
Well, you have to buy a bucket of balls, but that's like, $12.
Okay.
Would that be a good one?
How would people signal?
I think you can wear like a certain hat, like a black hat.
That's like, no, because everyone's wearing a black hat.
No, they're not.
Yeah, you're wearing one right now. What does that say?
Okay, so you want more conspicuous.
It has to be like a color that not everyone's wearing, like red or something.
What if you put a pineapple out like at your hitting mat?
Then you have to go buy, no, because then they have to buy a pineapple, then go there. They need to go to one spot, without too much prep.
Okay.
Or else people won't do it.
I think it has to be like a bucket hat. Oh, you wear a bucket hat.
Fine. That's hilarious. That's so JJ's way. I think it's better. I think we should do In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A.
With a bucket hat.
Or Whole Foods.
Yeah, and you
no
wear
bucket hat.
But think about that. That would be kind of cool and fun.
They're going to go.
Because no one else is going to be wearing a bucket hat.
So crazy.
And everyone needs at least one good bucket hat in their wardrobe.
Okay, if you guys have any crazy ideas, will you DM us or email us with your idea?
We'll try it in Nashville.
A strategy plan on how we should do this. And maybe we can start it in Nashville and then we could go
we can
local.
try it. That would be fun.
All right, guys, what a fun first episode. I mean, this was emotional and then it got fun at the end, which I'm feeling on a better note now.
We needed that.
But we have some more fun topics coming your way. Hey, if you have a topic with pop culture or something happening in the dating world that you want us to talk about, would you email us info@hodpodcast.com, DM us your topic. We want to know what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you guys.
Bye, guys. The Heart of Dating podcast is created by Kate and JJ Tomlin. Shout out to our epic audio and video editor, Scott Caro. We have an amazing Heart of Dating team who helps bring the show to you each week. I want to shout out Kelsey Napier, our Heart of Dating digital marketing coordinator, and Elena Gibson, our brand and community manager. We couldn't do it without them. Now, if you guys have never ranked us or reviewed us on iTunes or Spotify, would you consider doing that? It would mean so much because our podcast can get more discovered and more people can learn how to better date as Christians. Don't we all want that? We launch our podcast each and every week on Wednesdays, so we will see you next week.